Chinese athlete Eileen Gu hits back at Vance, who criticized her for not representing U.S. American-born Gu has a theory about why people talk about her choice to represent China Winter Olympics champion. Eileen Gu has responded to Vice President of the United States, Vance, after he hit out at her choice to represent China. Gu has been on a roll in the 2026 Milano Games, which saw her qualify at the halfpipe and also advance to the finals yesterday, February 21st, where she won gold. However, on February 19th, American-born Gu was questioned after the qualifiers about comments Vance made about her affiliation with China. Vance had said he thought a person who grew up in the U.S. would want to compete with the United States when asked about Gu in an interview with Fox News on Tuesday, February 17th. Vance said he has no idea what Gu's status should be, but I certainly think that somebody who grew up in the United States of America, who benefited from our education system, from the freedoms and liberties that make this country a great place, I would hope that they want to compete with the United States of America. He added, "So, I'm going to root for American athletes. I think part of that is people who identify themselves as Americans. That's who I'm rooting for in this Olympics." His words were brought up by reporters, who asked her if she feels like a bit of a punching bag for a certain strand of American politics at the moment. "I do," Gu responded to reporters at the Games. "So many athletes compete for a different country. People only have a problem with me doing it because they kind of lump China into this monolithic entity, and they just hate China. So it's not really about what they think it's about." She went on to say people are more bothered about it because I win, explaining, "Like if I wasn't doing well, I think that they probably wouldn't care as much, and that's okay for me. People are entitled to their opinions." The 22-year-old responded to the VP's comments in a conversation with USA Today, saying, "I'm flattered. Thanks, JD. That's sweet." This comes after Gu defended American free skier Hunter Hess after he revealed he didn't feel too comfortable representing the U.S. in light of its current administration. To this, Donald Trump called him a real loser in a social media post. "As someone who's been caught in the crossfire before, I feel sorry for the athletes," Gu said. Gu was born in San Francisco, California, to Yen Gu, a first-generation Chinese immigrant to the United States, and an American father, and schooled at Stanford University. LA Bible reached out to the White House for comment. Eileen Gu, Between Two Worlds, an athlete's response to political fire. In the dramatic theater of the 2026 Milano Cortina Winter Olympics, amid the rush of snowflakes and the roar of cheering crowds, a different kind of storm has been unfolding, one rooted not in athletic performance, but in national identity, politics, and the meaning of representation. At the eye of this storm is Eileen Gu, the extraordinary freestyle skier whose graceful aerials and razor-sharp turns have not only earned her a place among the world's elite athletes, but also made her a focal point of cultural debate across continents. On the slopes, Gu's talent is undeniable. She is, statistically and historically, one of the most decorated female freestyle skiers in Olympic history. Off the slopes, however, the simplicity of medals and rankings dissolves into layers of personal choice, politics, and public expectation. A choice with weight, representing China. Born in San Francisco to an American father and a Chinese mother, Gu enjoyed the privileges of elite training in the United States while maintaining deep cultural ties to China. In 2019, she made a decision that would shape both her career and her public narrative. She chose to compete internationally for China, the land of her mother's heritage, instead of the country of her birth. This decision, framed by Gu as a chance to inspire a new generation of young athletes in a nation where winter sports were far less established, was presented as deeply personal, strategic, and identity-affirming. The U.S. already has representation, she explained in prior interviews, suggesting her impact would be greater where skiing had fewer role models. Yet while Gu's choice seemed empowering to many, especially young athletes looking for representation on the world stage, others saw it through a very different lens. Vance, the spark of controversy. The spark that ignited a widespread conversation came from Vance, the Vice President of the United States, during an interview on American television. Asked about Gu's decision, Vance said something that quickly became the center of headlines and social media debate. I certainly think somebody who grew up in the United States of America, who benefited from our education system and the freedoms that make this country a great place, would want to compete with the United States of America. In essence, Vance suggested that Gu, who developed her skills within the U.S. sports ecosystem, should feel a moral or patriotic pull to represent the United States. He expressed support for American athletes and noted that he would root for American athletes, especially those who identify themselves as Americans. To some conservative commentators and fans, his remarks seemed like a reasonable assertion of national pride. To others, they opened a larger debate about individual freedom and the politicization of sport. Gu's response: grace, humor, and insight. Rather than respond with anger, Gu approached the topic with clarity, wit, and poise. When asked about Vance's comments at a press event, she offered a reply that was diplomatic yet self-assured. "I'm flattered. Thanks, JD. That's sweet." Her tone, a mixture of playful acknowledgement and understated dismissal, spoke volumes. In those few words, "I'm flattered," Gu reframed the conversation from confrontation to perspective. She did not attack Vance's character. She simply pointed out that his concern, though noticeable, did not dictate her choices. But her response didn't end with light humor. Asked if she felt like a punching bag for a certain strand of American politics, Gu didn't shy away. She said, candidly, that she did feel that way. But she also offered insight into why. "So many athletes compete for a different country," she said, "and people only have a problem with me doing it because they kind of lump China into this monolithic entity, and they just hate China." In other words, Gu suggested that the backlash was less about her decision and more about broader geopolitical and cultural narratives that shape public perception. She acknowledged that people are entitled to their opinions, and maintained that her success, rather than her choice alone, might be driving the intensity of the reaction. Beyond the headlines, public reactions and perceptions, Gu's comments resonated with supporters and critics alike. Many saw her response as a masterclass in balancing athletic focus with cultural pressure, a reminder that athletes are often thrust into discussions far beyond their sport. For supporters, Gu's stance was an affirmation of autonomy. Athletes, like all individuals, have the right to choose their path, and questions of loyalty or identity should not be weaponized in political arenas. Others pointed out that global sports, especially the Olympics, have long been filled with athletes competing for countries other than their birthplace.